You know him as 1/3 of the plastics, the sworn enemy of fake news, a man boasting perhaps the most luscious and tallest hair in franchise history, a fellow Canadian, the man who took himself out of Katie's season before it was mainstream, and perhaps a future groomsman to an upcoming Bachelor Nation wedding. Brendan Scanzano, welcome to the program, my man.
David, how are you, man? Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while.
Dude, it is so good to have you here, a fellow Canadian. We were talking before. This is kind of the first contestant where we kind of like relate to you on a serious level. Some people don't know, but this is obviously a Canadian podcast. I know a couple people who know you generally too, and we've heard great things. So it's like it's a trip to see a contestant who is living a similar life to us. But to round you out before we begin, just to the listeners who again just saw just a tiny glimpse of who you really are on TV. Can you tell maybe the listeners just a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, who you are, to offer just a bit of insight to them?
No, I was born and raised in Toronto. A Canadian full and through, and proud to be Canadian, obviously. And man, I'm a pretty simple guy, to be honest. I spend a lot of time in Muskoka. That's the paradise in the summer times here, right? So I'm a big family man. My family's very, very small here in Toronto. Everyone else is back home in Europe, which is super cool, man, to see the family history there. But man, my hobbies. I mean, I played hockey my whole life. I try to get on the ice, once a week with some of the boys throughout the summer. But I love being outdoors, being adventurous, and being around good people. That's the biggest thing for me. I have a great friend group, and I love each and every one of them, especially with the new people I've met throughout Bachelor Nation. So, man, I'm a simple guy, and I'm happy to be here.
And one little detail that some people know and they don't really know enough about is your occupation too. Something that was interrupted by the process of coming on the show, but you were going through to be, of course, as we saw, a firefighter trainee. And
Right.
few people realize how uniquely taxing your program was at a semi-military academy at Texas A&M. Can you tell us a little bit about that process, just how rigorous it was for people who don't really understand?
No, that's a great question. It was like prison, to be honest. It was tough, man. Texas A&M, it was semi-military academy. You're up at 4:30 every single morning. I was living off campus, but you meet some amazing people. The cool thing was there was actually a lot of Canadians there, as well as Americans. We had a great class, recruit class that year, and I'm fully certified. The whole thing with the firefighter trainee is I'm just waiting to get hired full time. So I'm going through the whole interview process, the psych evaluations, and hopefully by this fall I'm hired full time. Fingers crossed. It is a tough career to get into, but once you're in, and it's the best job in the world. So, but before that, I was in finance. I've worked in law before, but previously to the show, I was in finance, and right now I'm just taking time for myself to clear my head, spend time with friends and family. Man, that's a huge thing. I've missed them, and I know they've missed me. So, spending time with your loved ones is the biggest thing after the show.
And you mentioned you were in finance before, and it's such a, like, what a right turn, eh? Like, it's such a different occupation altogether. So what was there a particular moment that made you say, you know what, this isn't for me, I want to go into this completely other realm? It's one that's a lot more adventurous, a lot more dangerous.
I think after I finished playing hockey, that was something that was on my mind. A lot of my buddies were going to the NHL or starting their careers, and for me, I turned down a couple college opportunities, and hockey wasn't something I ended up loving in the end. It felt like a full-time job with no incentive, really. There was no, you obviously, everyone has an end goal, but I was always realistic about hockey. And my dad was pretty upset when I wanted to stop playing, because I knew I had the talent. I knew I was a good goaltender. So for myself, it was just plan B, man. It was just like real life things. And when you go through the fire academy, you might have to wait. You can get hired within a year. You can get hired in 5 years. It's just the waiting game. It's very competitive. So I've been fully certified now for about 2 years now, and I'm just excited to get a full-time position, man. Because like I said, it's the best job in the world. I want to protect the community, represent the GTA in any way, wherever I get hired overall. But that's my goal and passion, and that's something that I have to continue to study, continue to, hit the books hard all the time to keep my mind enrolled in it, and obviously keep up with, fitness and training all the time too.
I mean, it's for you to say that that's your passion. It's a really selfless and brave thing to get into. So all respect for
Appreciate
your
it,
service,
man.
man.
Thank you, man.
Now, you did mention hockey, and so to jump into a little bit of connection that you had through hockey, it's obviously been very public that you and Blake knew each other before appearing on Katie's season through whether it was spending time at the cottage, or I know you guys kind of met through, you've known each other, like I think it was your older brother knew him, and then you kind of evolved from being that younger brother tagging along to just two grown dudes hanging out. Talk about sort of what that dynamic was like before the show.
Yeah, man, it was growing up, having that 4-year age gap is so drastic. When I'm like 10, my brother's 14, and he seems like he's 20, at that point. He seems like a full adult. It's so funny. But, he played minor hockey with Blake. And then they ended up playing high school hockey together in their final year in grade 12. And as time went on and we started getting older, we can start having a couple beers, in the backyard or some New Year's Eve parties. You can start relating to life and talking and really bonding. So Blake's always been like a huge part of our friend group. My brother, he's one of my best friends, and our friend group, everyone kind of resides in Burlington area and Hamilton, and we're so close, and everyone it's almost like, the guys that are engaged, their fiancés are best friends with this guy's fiance, and it just goes on and on. It's a crazy thing. So yeah, man, with Blake, I remember when he applied to the show, we were playing men's league hockey, and basically the guy said, if anyone could do a television show and find love and kind of go through this whole experience, pre-show and post-show, and deal with all the crazy stuff afterwards, it would be Brendan and Blake, right? So I didn't think too much of it.
Like what were the traits that people kind of pointed out? Are you good under pressure?
I think our personalities. I think just like outgoing, and also we're the only two single guys in our group.
Yeah, fair.
I'm the youngest guy through that friend group because everyone's 30, 31 and a bit older, but Blake was saying, yeah, man, like, I guess I'll apply. So I remember when he got the call, and he didn't tell everybody, but I was helping him through his, little process and kind of supporting him through it too. He gave me some updates on where he was in the whole casting process, and obviously the audition tape, I was helping him a little bit with that. So as time went on, obviously my time came, and Blake said, you know what, man, just apply. Like, what's the worst that would happen? And for me, being a Canadian, us being Canadians, what are the odds of actually being on the show? Well, what are the odds of two friends back-to-back seasons as well? So for me, I just said, I want to go through with it. I'll do an audition tape. I'm not scared to do that.
Yeah.
Let's just have fun with it. And if it happens, amazing. But if it doesn't, hey, I gave it a shot, and it's still a cool experience to go through that casting process. So, I mean, I was with Blake just before I flew out to New Mexico. I didn't think anything of it, but I also know that Katie wasn't fully confirmed as a Bachelorette. So I think he was waiting for that, and he didn't want to tell me like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm just going to show up if it is her. So he kept it to himself. But honestly, man, like, that's one thing in the house that no one really sees. Nothing would have came in between our friendship. And that's the one thing we made very clear between him and I, and between Katie, myself, and Katie and Blake too. And I think the biggest thing I was worried about was Katie sending, both of us home, because I didn't know like what the energy they had on their first one-on-ones. So I was worried that Katie would have been like, I don't want to ruin this friendship. See you later. And
that would be a very Katie move too, to be like, we can avoid the drama. Yeah.
100%. So because Katie's she's an incredible woman that I think very highly of her. And I know she puts others first before herself. And that was my biggest fear. And I told, like I said, I was just personally scared that she would send us both home if she didn't take the friendship conversation well. But honestly, man, overall, I told Blake, even, when he showed up, our first conversation, I was like, man, like, if it's not me, I want it to be you. Like, what kind of friend would I be if I didn't want you to find love as well. Because in the real world, this would never happen. You would never come and interrupt someone who I'm talking to. But in Bachelor Nation, it is a normal thing.
It's normal.
And
Yeah.
it's normal. It's normal. And people still don't understand that. You know, a lot of people on social media, they're still giving him a lot of backlash on that showing up. And I knew the guys in the house were giving him a rough time for a little bit. You know, especially in their interviews, everyone had my back saying, well, I wouldn't show up if my friend was here. But like I said, it's normal. We put that aside, and, you know, we knew what we signed up for. Like, whether it's competing with 29 other guys, I mean, if there's a friend there, I was happy to see him. Don't get me wrong, but it was weird. It was different because I was like,
was it blowing your mind when you first saw him? Like, did you not even really know how to react? Like, what is going on?
Yeah. So it shows. It like I said, you guys don't see it all, but so when Tayshia walked in, she addressed the group, and Blake didn't show up for probably about like 15, 20 minutes. We're all kind of like chatting around the couch, but I was connecting all the dots, and I looked over at James. I was like, it's Blake. Like, it has to be, because someone from her past. Blake and her ended on good terms. I knew Blake was friends with Zach and Tayshia.
And all the rumors on social media are saying Blake, Katie,
Blake
like
and
crazy.
Katie. So I started doing, and then I was just connecting the dots with just like how we're you know, how he was talking to me a little bit before I flew out.
Oh, you were replaying everything in your mind.
I was kind of replaying everything, right? And I connected the dots, David. I'm telling you, man. And I looked over the James, said it's Blake, and he's like, no way. I was like, it's gonna be Blake. And I know Blake. You know, I see him quite a bit back home here. Even just the way Blake walks, like I didn't have to look at his face to know it was him. Like, I looked at his feet, I looked at his knees, the way he walks, his legs. I call it, like, I was like, yep, it's him. And I looked. You're
seeing it in slow motion, yeah.
Basically slow mo, and like my eyes were just like, I was shocked, excited, because I wanted to get up and hug him, but at the same time, I was just kind of like caught off guard at the same time, even though I was 99.9% sure.
And you know, every other guy there is kind of like, and unwarranted now, I'm sure everyone loves him, but in the moment they're like, fuck this guy. So you don't necessarily want to be the guy jumping up from the couch and being like, welcome home. Yeah.
1,000%. So that was my whole thing. I wanted to get up and give him a hug, but at the same time, I wanted to still be on a level playing field with the new guys in the house, because even though it was, you know, week 3, I built those friendships and relationships already with the guys, but you want to keep it consistent. So part of me, what I did, I was protecting Blake as well, because I spoke up on behalf of him, saying, you know what, like, Blake is here for the right reasons before I was even casted.
Which is huge to have that advocate, man. Because the narrative of the house, we saw it. It can move so quickly. Judge, jury, execution.
Yeah. Especially, you know, when Tayshia or Caitlin walk in, you always know there's a storm brewing, right? It's like the calm before the storm. So I just said, you know, before I was casted, boys, listen, I know you don't want to hear this, but Blake was talking about Katie very highly, really wanted to meet her. Even before I was casted on the show, I said he is here for her. And he straight up is like, guys, if I don't have a connection with her, I will leave. I just want to meet her. He kept it very simple. So the guys trusting me and respecting me in the house, they basically said, well, you know what, we love Brendan in the house, and if he's vouching for you, like, you know what, man, like, we'll welcome you in with open arms. And I'm happy, man. I just wanted Blake to be happy too. It's not a easy situation to walk in and address all those guys in the house. Like, it is so intimidating. It's night one, right? Technically it's night 1 for him, and for all the guys to just stare at you. And he was nervous, no doubt. I think any guy would be. So I just wanted him to, you know, I told all the guys, get up, shake his hand, and introduce yourself to him. Everyone's a great guy in the house.
What a bro, man. This is why we need you on here, dude. It's because people don't know, like, that. You're saying it like it's a normal thing, but not a lot of friends are going to have that lack of animosity. Like, some guys are going to take that personal. Some guys are going to take it as a slight. But, you know, it does also take a certain level of self-confidence and assurance in yourself to be able to look at your friend and be like, well, my man, if it's not me, I want it to be you.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, that's the only thing with a real good friendship and someone you respect. You know, you can have mutual friends with someone that's someone you're not that close with, to just be like, you know what, man, like, screw you, but like, nice to see you. Or it's like, you know, like, you're like a brother to me, and I've known you for a while, and he's been on his journey, and, this show, you could find, love, you can get an engagement out of it. Everyone sees it, but the whole process does work, because it's very unexplainable to explain to people who haven't been on the show in regards to feelings and the emotions and no distractions, because no distraction is the biggest thing, man. It really is. And it goes a long way.
And it's all in person, and you're on that accelerated timeline. You're sharing quicker. You're opening up more. And especially because we've been fans of the show for a while. Like, we get that the process it does make sense in a vacuum, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it really, really does. Now, speaking of, you obviously, the real Blake, and from being on the show that, especially with guys like Aaron and yourself, that not always the realist version is shown. And, whatever, that's fine. That's how a reality show works.
Right.
But are there any aspects of Blake, as authentic and real as he always seems on TV, that the edit seemed to maybe get wrong? Are there any maybe misconceptions that you think people have about Blake?
No, honestly, man, like, even just looking at, the finale, like him freaking out and tripping out and getting nervous, like, that's Blake to the T. Like, he's just a real guy. His, his vows or his speech to Katie at the end as well. People wanted to be more like politically correct, let's say, and like more perfect, but like Blake's literally just a normal guy who was nervous and scared, and I really wouldn't know how to handle that situation too, because my heart's pounding on my chest watching it too, because I'm excited for him, but I couldn't even imagine being on that platform doing it. So, do I see Blake ever being vulnerable though, like, with his feelings? No, I don't see that part, right? So it's cool to see, because when it's guys just hanging out with guys, and he's never, I know from his past relationship years and years ago, that's the only time I saw him in a relationship. And ever since, his last relationship, he's just been like a single guy with hanging out with us. And, you don't see him being vulnerable or him being, romantic with anybody. So it's different to see. It's funny to see, but it's great to see that. So I'm super happy.
So you almost got like a new level of authenticity.
You see you see a new level, but the way he was in the house with the guys, like, he just says it how it is. He's there because he wants to be there. He shows the respect to all the guys in the house, but especially at the end, Blake doesn't try to say things perfectly. He just says it. Just like he's just a real dude, just a raw dude. And I think us Canadians, we're just like that as well. I think it's a little different because us Canadians aren't really used to these television show platforms to be on. It's mostly American guys. So we just go and being ourselves, man. And that's what I did for myself as well. Just myself. That's why I didn't get caught up in like the drama or anything else. I just sat back with a beer and had good conversations with the guys. Right. So.
And I want to jump into the dynamics in the house, because we were so into the trio. I was such an early James fan from night one. Aaron was hilarious. I want to dive into that. But one thing that, again, you mentioned on talking it out, and it really, to me, just added such a third dimension to you is, and that's talking it out with Brian and Mike Johnson. People don't know that you've had a layered childhood and a more complex family life than most, and in ways that would affect the way you approach relationships in the future. Do you think, like, how is if you want to dive into your background 100%. And then how it's kind of affected how you approached it with Katie or relationships in the past?
Yeah, I think growing up, I've always learned how to listen really well, because, going home to home, there was a lot of miscommunication, I believe, between my parents, if, going back and forth and phone calls and this. So I was really forced to kind of listen, to be like, hey, where am I going today? Where am I going tomorrow? Where am I sleeping tonight? Just certain things. And that's why for me with the drama, it's like, I tend to just like, I sit back and I listen and I analyze, and then I put my opinion in. Because you kind of find yourself in the whole journey of the show, right? So that's why I never lashed out at people, and that's why I don't judge people right off the bat too. Because just from my childhood, I've had a lot of people look at me and they think I have this perfect life, and I really don't ever try to put on a perfect life. But I think I was raised in a great way with my parents raising me, that I've had a lot of people thinking I have this picket white fence, which I pulled them aside. I said, don't ever assume that with anyone, because even learning from the show, no one has a perfect life story. Nobody does. And so that's for me. I don't judge people because I've had it the other way, and it kind of bothered me a little bit. So, but yeah, man, just going, I think, home to home, not really seeing love firsthand in my family. I've always gravitated towards more relationships and more love. And I've always felt that the relationships I was in that were they were always long term. Their families, it was kind of an extended family for me, and also a getaway from, hey, if I'm not happy at being at my mom's today, I'll go to my dad's. If I'm not happy at being at my dad's, or I'm having some trouble at home, hey, my girlfriend's family, they love me, so I'm going to go there for a family dinner, because I never sat at a family dinner table and had the traditional dinner, which people kind of feel bad for me in a sense, but it's like, but that was normal for me. So I mean,
So it's just sort of we're eating on the go or whatever is sort of it's just wasn't that sit down formal event.
Exactly. Because single parents are just at home as well, and it's just like, hey, you want to eat on the couch today? You want to go eat in your room and just just hang out watching TV? It's like, yeah, sure. I mean, that was normal for me.
That's just normal. You only know
I was
what
in the rinks too. Exactly. Or like, going to restaurants with my dad after hockey, like you're playing hockey, go to the upstairs restaurant, he's having a couple of drinks, and, I'm just hanging out with the team and eating. So I was always really on the go. But yeah, man, I think, I've always gravitated towards loving relationships, because I guess for me, I do want that traditional family aspect. It doesn't have to be like the formal, but I do want to have like a family of my own that, we all come together and we stick together.
And that stability. Consistency.
So man, it's just like kind of unconditional love overall, but that also comes with finding the right person, and basically just unconditional love, and someone who's your ride or die, because relationships, they're never going to be perfect. And I feel like so many people date strangers, right? Like people tend to just, you meet someone, talk for maybe a month, and then you date them, and then that honeymoon phase is you really trying to impress them, because you don't really know who they are, right? And they don't know who you are. And then you start getting into the real life things. They see you come home after a bad day at work, and you're having a rough day, and you're kind of pissed off a little bit. And then they're like, oh, well, where's the cute you? Or why aren't you happy today? It's like, this is actually just real life. So I tend to just like avoid the honeymoon phase a little bit, and just say, listen, like, I like you, I respect you, I want to be with you. It's not going to be, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows every day. It's going to suck. But if you can put up with me and I'll put up with you, let's just make it happen, because it's just, I'm just a realist when it comes to that stuff. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And I mean, obviously it worked out for the best. Obviously, I know you look at Blake and Katie and go, amazing. Congratulations. But that recipe of skipping the honeymoon phase is such a recipe for success on The Bachelor, Bachelorette too. Like, whatever your journey, if it ever continues, whatever it may be, because that is the biggest thing, is when you're in this bubble, yes, you do accelerate and you get to know each other, but you're also so removed from real life that it's kind of like that permanent honeymoon phase. And again, Blake being so real, I think it bodes well, right? If just he is his authentic self. But some people, you have a ring on and you still haven't met the real person yet in a lot of ways.
Right. So that's why I think the biggest adjustment for them is going to just be, how do we go from this world that we were in with no distractions? I think that's the biggest thing. It's a distraction. So how do we go from this parallel universe into the real world? It's a transitioning. And if you can the transition might be bumpy, because you have to really communicate really well, but I think like Blake's just so real, Katie's so real, that they just say it how it is. And if they can transition with a few speed bumps, which is normal, and they can actually kind of get through that transition stage, they'll be totally fine. I have nothing but confidence in their engagement whatsoever. I think they'll be together, I mean, for a long time. You're crossing your fingers that they're together forever, but it's the thing where I see them being a very, very solid couple for years to come. And that's one thing I remember. Wells was on our season, and he made some drinks for us, and that's one thing. He's like, do you have any questions for me? I said, how do you, like, I said, hypothetically, say I ended up with Katie, how do you transition into the real world? So he made a very good point and said, you have to build on you have to take the little things you learned here in this whole experience and bubble, and you have to take those things in the real world and build on those little things, because the
Mm.
foundation you build at the Bachelorette, those are the things that get you to a certain point.
Yeah.
And that's what Katie and Blake have to do. Just build on the small things that they learned about each other, and all the little moments they shared. So
That's so neat. Yeah, that's fantastic advice. We're big fans of Wells too. It's a little off topic, but I love how they had, Tasha and Caitlin did a fantastic job for the Bachelorette. I think they
yeah,
should do the
amazing.
inverse. Have a guy host and kind of guide the next Bachelor. I don't think Wells would be a bad pick, because
Well,
I mean
Wells is incredible, man. No, dude,
yeah.
he is one of the coolest guys I've ever met. So genuine, so real. Gave us great advice, made some great drinks for us. He knows how to bartend for sure. But yeah, man, he's one of the coolest guys. So I can see him potentially. You're hoping down the line for the Bachelor, even the Bachelor, that he continues his journey with the franchise to help people out and be there for everyone. So.
Now, you mentioned the idea of distractions, and obviously one of those main distractions, especially when you build a following, is social media. It's obvious from Instagram lives and those post-show interviews that's now obviously a big part of everyone's life afterwards. You're given this platform, and you want to just connect with people as well. You want to connect with the people who
Yeah.
watched you, liked you. Do you find that your approach to social media is a lot different, or that it does have a larger part in your life than it did
Yeah.
pre-show? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 100%. There's no doubt about that. You are kind of glued to your phone. It's still an exciting time for everyone, because we see photos of us like behind the scenes that producers took of us, and it's like, oh, like I want to see those, and you just keep up with Bachelor Nation, and
Yeah.
you're sort of, I didn't watch any season except for Blake's to support his. And then when you start understanding the franchise, you're glued to it. And now being part of it, you want to continue to support the franchise and support the new people going on the shows. But I think for me, man, it's number one thing. The fans of Bachelor Nation are the biggest thing in the world and the most important thing for the franchise. And that's why they're so successful. And, I think really just responding to fans too. Like, I get some really cool messages from just people, around the world, that they're like, we listen to this podcast and we just want to say, like, thank you for opening up about this. And you're so well spoken, and just these messages really like help you get through the day. Cause you're like, man, you know what? Like, thank you so much. So I respond to people all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just, you kind of have like a due diligence to represent ABC and represent the Bachelor franchise of being well liked, and but also reminding people, like, we are just normal guys. Like, you guys can talk to us. We're not, I never put myself above anybody else. And especially when I see people in public and they want to come up to me, like, I always divert the conversation from the show kind of about them. Like, hey, like, what are you guys doing here? Like, what's your favorite place to eat?
Yeah.
What are your plans tonight? And then, it's just cool to meet people, because I like getting to know people too. I can talk for hours. I like networking with people, and but it's cool to meet fans, man. That's what gives us this platform as well, and we have to be grateful for the fans of Bachelor Nation.
Well, and you seem really like uniquely equipped to deal with that new spotlight too, because again, obviously, like you just said, a huge part of the show is the community behind it. You kind of struck me as someone who was always happy to be on the wrong end of an online joke or a at Bachelor windmill meme. Did you feel like you had to build up a thick skin to public feedback, or did kind of years of hockey locker rooms prepare you for the flurry of chirps from Bachelor Nation?
No, the chirps don't bug me whatsoever. I love kind of commenting on like funny memes about myself, the chapstick, the hair, the cartoon characters, man. I think it's so funny. And I think the one thing that bugs me is when people, they'll talk about certain guys, and no one knows anybody except for us. And that's why we stay so close together, because no one knows the real guys. And it's just like, be kind to people. Like, why are you on the other end commenting on my page, having a full conversation with other people about certain people, a photo they posted, and he wasn't looking good in that photo, or why is his hair like that, or why is he wearing that shirt? It's like, I respond to people. I'm like, listen, take a breath. You're going to be okay. Like your life goes on, and you're, you have a locked profile, and who knows where the hell you are? Who knows if it's just a fake? Like, it's just people that are very insecure, and you kind of wish them the best too when they're trying to take out their insecurities and anger on people they don't know or they're judging from shows. So that's what bugs me. So I'll comment back to people. Like I'll be a little snarky with them for sure. I'm not scared about that, but you know, I remember posting it's during the finale, and a Bachelorette already posted, like, you know, congrats Katie and Blake and all the engagement. So I posted like a congrats photo of Blake and I, and people were like, oh, like, I'm just at work right now, and opened up Instagram, and thanks for spoiling the finale. And I said, you shouldn't be on your phone at work, get back to work, you know, things like that. I engage like that, but like, I just don't care. But it's little comments like that. Like, people find time to put other people down, or just take the time out of your day to go on and post and comment. That's what bugs me. But the chirps for me, you know, hockey players,
jokes are funny. Yeah.
The jokes are funny, but the chirps and jokes that come to me, man, I love it. I think it's hilarious. And, you know,
did you have a particular one that you thought was funny, either about you or anyone else? Because there were a couple fantastic ones from this season.
I think just me doing the lip chap thing, man.
Yeah.
I think that was classic. And I don't even remember doing that. I'll be honest. When I was watching it, I'm like,
yeah,
I have no recollection of doing that. But it was what people don't get is that it was so dry. They were in the desert, being in a hotel, like, your skin is so dry and your lips are so chapped. And
yeah,
I remember we'd be sitting around the couch, and James would always carry Aquaphor. It's like, it's an American brand, but it's almost like petroleum jelly in a tube, but it's for lips and skin.
yeah.
And it was the best hydrating thing. So I used to be like, hey, I'd be like, James, I need that. So he tossed me over this tube, and I'd be like, put it on my lips, and we'd be passing it along the whole, like, around the whole couch. And for me, I was like, luckily I had like a little lip chap, or a lip balm. Like, imagine if I had that tube of petroleum jelly, I'd be, that's what I said. I'm like, thank gosh I didn't have that in my back pocket, because James carried that all the time. But just, I think the lip chap, I think the hair stuff, I think people saying like, why, you know, Brendan gets the last rose, top 7, why is he still here? Even people on Twitter, I would respond to them. They're like, why is Brendan still here? And he's like top 7. I'm like, I'm obviously doing something right. Like,
yeah,
you guys
you're
don't
not
see
there.
the background.
You're not there.
Like, you know, I'm doing something right. You know, obviously I do have, you know, a good connection with Katie, and we respect each other a lot. So, yeah, man, it's funny what the internet has. It could be a very dark place or a fun place, you know what I mean? But it is a
and you see all of it.
You see all of it, man. It's you tend really not to, like, I don't read articles, you know, that come out. People send me things, but I don't read articles. Yeah. I just see sometimes it'll be like people just send me memes or tag. It's the tagging on Instagram. That's when you really see it. But the actual articles about me, like, I don't read that stuff whatsoever.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And well, so you mentioned it. So we'll jump to that moment, because that was again, one of your sort of last moments on the show, and a really prolific one. We said at the time that you going up to Katie's room and essentially explaining that the path and pace you were going down together, it's not one that was leading to an engagement. That was, to us, like we said, that's not only mature, but also it was smart for both of you. Right. And we obviously saw the optimistic lip chap application that got the internet buzzing. But in all seriousness, before you open that door, what was going on? Were you hopeful for, look, maybe if I bring this up, she'll realize, I should give him a one-on-one? Or was part of you just accepting the reality of both of you just weren't far enough along at that point? Were you kind of just getting ready to almost say goodbye a little bit?
Yeah. You know, that we had a long conversation, but obviously the world sees about 5 minutes of it or even less. But we had a very long conversation. And I think leading up to that, even that last rose ceremony where I got the last rose, that whole week we were talking about, like, listen, hometowns are right around the corner. Yeah. Everyone's had a one-on-one except for Mike and myself. And I knew that, you know, the first one-on-one, it was going to be a repeat, and I knew it was going to probably most likely be Greg. We just had that feeling, just a repeat.
Really?
Probably one. Yeah, we just kind of knew it was going to be a repeat rose for a repeat one-on-one for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But even leading up to that week, I said, guys, like, I need a one-on-one, or else, like, there's no chance I'm even going to move on forward, because I respect Katie. She's looking for a husband, and I won't be able to give her that in that time frame. And I respect you boys so much that you deserve as much time at cocktail parties and me going to just talk to her for kind of no reason. And you boys deserve the time, because you guys are going to be a bit ahead of me, knowing more about Katie, and she'll know more about a little bit more about you guys. So the whole thing for me, I knew that if I didn't get a 1-1, I'm not staying around. I'm gonna go,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna go on that group date, because at that point, that group date is gonna be an exciting group date. It's gonna be fun with the guys, and I didn't want to, give that bad negative energy, kind
Or
of being
just
upset
be there for
or
the sake
down.
of being
Just
there.
like it was going to be a waste of time. I didn't want to look like an idiot, right? So yeah, as soon as my name wasn't called, I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing was it goes back to the last rose ceremony that same week, when I didn't get time with her on the group date cocktail party because she was feeling very sick.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and
really?
then
Okay. So that's something we
yeah,
didn't see, did we?
yeah. I'm not too sure. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
she was feeling very ill, and like there was only
Okay.
myself and someone else that didn't get time with her, and then the rose ceremony cocktail party she cut short. So I'm like, man, I'm probably going home.
Yeah.
Uh, that's why, like, and that rose ceremony, I was very, very emotional too when the guys left, because I was on this roller coaster of emotion. So
And
James,
you
my
had lost,
roommate,
yeah. James and Aaron.
James, he was my roommate, and Aaron was like, he was basically our other roommate too at that point.
Yeah.
Trey, Hunter as well.
Yeah.
Those guys had so much more time with Katie that week than I did,
Mhm.
but I was always bold uh, leading up to that. Like I did, like no one sees that, but I pulled Katie first. I got her a drink first. I was very bold and outgoing in that sense.
Mhm.
So I always showed eyeballs. Like I was not scared to talk to her, hang out with her. So I was confident. I was like, hey, even though I didn't get time, like I know the moments we shared, like I'm still confident in what we have, like for no doubt. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like I didn't get time this week with her, and this is a bummer. Like this is brutal. So
Yeah.
when I got the last rose and those guys went home, like I was devastated. I actually wrote notes for James, Aaron, and then I had one note for all the guys in the house, because I was expecting to go home. I was prepared to go home that rose ceremony.
Yeah.
And when they went, like I reached in, gave them my notes, hugged them. I was bawling my eyes out.
And was that a normal? Did other people write notes? Like, dude, you're coming across as such a considerate, good friend,
Yeah.
man. Like, that's such a thoughtful thing to do.
Andrew M. Early on, he wrote a note. He borrowed James's suit, and at the end of it, when he went home, he went to go get change, and we didn't know at the time, but he left a note in the pocket, thanked James for the thing, but he wrote a note to the boys and just say, thanks guys for everything. Like, here's my information. I had the best experience. Love you guys. But James didn't know that until he reached into his pocket one night and he opened it up. But for me, I was very vocal on saying, yeah, I am. Like James was in front of me. I was like, dude, I'm writing you a note because like I'm probably gonna go home tonight. Like I don't feel confident whatsoever. So when they went home, man, it was like I was crying, but then I was so emotional getting a rose. And when I got that rose, the whole point of my confidence getting that one-on-one leading up to that week was, if I got the last rose over these guys this week, I'm 110% guaranteed getting that one-on-one. There's no chance. It was a given, right? So, when Katie gave me that rose, I said, listen, we'll make up for lost time. And, I'd go back, whatever. So once my name wasn't on that one-on-one, I was just like, Katie, listen, like I asked her like what that rose meant. She obviously saw potential and we did have a good connection, but I just said, like, I don't know why basically I'm still here, and some great guys went home basically. But I knew knocking on that door leading up to it to kind of answer that question, I knew I was going to go. I was not sticking around. I just wanted to voice my opinion, catch up on the week that we missed, wanted to express myself.
Because you had a connect. There's a connection there. Like it deserves a goodbye and some real closure.
1,000%. And honestly, man, the goodbye, it was amazing. Like I hugged her and I just said, I'm always going to have your back. And, I said, she's brought out so much of me. She's taught me so many things about just love and loving strangers and being such a good human and standing up for people in the house. And I said, you taught me so much. And vice versa. She said some amazing things to me that, I'm going to hold dearly for the rest of my life, and hugged her and we went our separate ways, man. And I have no regrets. I was very, I was very content. You know what I mean? So that's, man, I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Man. And I get the conflicted feeling too. You're saying bye to these great guys, and you're relieved that you have another week. And there's so many mental aspects flowing around your head. And one of those guys that you had to say goodbye to, and a guy who we made a lot of jokes about Aaron throughout the season, and we stand by all of them. But it's so clear from everything we've seen post show that he was one of the funniest guys in the house, a great sport, a happy guy. That is not an aspect we got to see, and turning into one of our dream guests today. What's the biggest misconception about Clancy floating around, and what's sort of your favorite memory that you've had with him?
Yeah. I think the biggest misconception that people don't understand, they think he's always angry at people, and he's not whatsoever. You guys see maybe a 5 to 10 second clip of him maybe each week when we are filming 24 hours a day and every single day. So he's one of the happiest guys I've ever met. Every single morning, he will hug the guys, say good morning. Every night he'll hug you and say he loves you. He loves to dance. He's always laughing. He's such a bro. He has a crazy life story that, he's a big family man and who loves his parents dearly. And yeah, man, he has a heart of gold. And just my favorite memory is just seeing him dance, and he has a great smile, and just seeing him happy, man. We always want to see the boys happy in the house, but people think he's some angry villain, and it's not even close to who he is as a person. I think people are starting to understand that post show with just his, our Instagram lives and our questions and stuff too. And he's a guy that just wants to, get to know people and give the time of day to fans as well. He loves the fans and the support that he's getting. So Clancy's one of the best guys in the world for sure.
And I'll say, if you guys happen to do any Instagram lives in the future, people should tune in, because I tuned in for a couple minutes of, it was you, Christian, dude, Trey was killing me on there too.
Yeah. Trey's the best, man.
People got to tune in.
Well, Christian, myself, Aaron, and James, we called ourselves the Fearsome Foursome. That was like our group going around, and it's too bad that we don't have too many more. We don't have that many photos with Christian, but that was like our, I wouldn't say clique in the house. Like, we were so close with everyone, but that was the boys. It was
a squad. You're gonna have guys you.
It was a squad, 1,000%, right?
Yeah.
But then obviously when Christian, left, that was a tough time. We were very emotional when that happened, and moving forward, obviously going to the mental hall, a lot of people, started putting 2 and 2 together with James, Aaron, myself, the Plastics, the Mean Girls, and we sort of got this label. You know what I mean?
Especially, you guys love that though. You're cool with that?
Oh, dude, it's funny, man.
That's hilarious.
Just the little, just the terms about the Mean Girls and all the little quotes that come along with
you can't sit with us.
That's so fetch. On Wednesdays we wear pink, and it's cool that Mean Girls was filmed here in Toronto as well. I tell people that all the time, right? So man, I love the guys. I'll do anything for them, and but it's just so, even I remember Justin was always like, hey, Christian's gone, can I join the squad now, the Fearsome Foursome? And we're like, Justin, you can't join it, but we can still label you as it, but we can't bring a new guy in. You can't replace
just
Christian,
know that you're not.
But you're in it though, because but he Justin was one of the guys that was super close to us as well. Trey as well. Oh man, I can go on with everybody, to be honest, man.
Dude, those incredible. Two has such awesome personalities, man. And Trey is someone who, he did come across as really funny, and he had funny moments, but everything I've seen from him since, he is hilarious. And you just see a little aspect, man. It's such a shame. But going Trey, over to oh no, go ahead.
Just even mental, on our commercial breaks, Trey would we'd be having, we had some tequila and stuff, and but commercial breaks, him and I we'd be singing on stage there with the audience. We'd be singing, we'd be dancing, we'd be throwing it up. He was just brushing his shoulders off, and he's just so his energy, man. When I call him, I'll text him, almost every single day, and just be yo, I need a FaceTime with you. I miss your energy. And just FaceTiming Trey, it'll be it brings you back to life. And you're well, thank you so much. I got to go back to doing my thing. But I needed that. You know what I mean?
That's great, man.
He's the best.
That's so cool. And what, so we talked about Clancy. We got to jump into, you've got a lot of feedback about your fantastic hair, but on our podcast, we were a lot more focused on the hair of another member of the Plastics, a man who was legitimately I was his number one fan. And honestly, I've tried to make a Bachelor case for James, but as much as I
Yeah.
love James, I need closure. Are you able to explain what's going on with that hair? Is it a plastic mold like you see on a Lego man? Was it Gorilla Glued? It's not bad hair. The thing is, it has potential, but as a man who wears his hair taller than most, what are your thoughts on James's look? Because it's driving the people crazy. This is a great looking dude, great personality. He dresses like someone straight out of GQ.
Unbelievable, man. This guy's suits are unbelievable. Well, first and foremost, James, I call him Jimmy. He as soon as he came out of the box, I mean, we actually hit it off right away. And they said, "Who would you want to be your roommate?" And I was like, "Man, like James, no doubt." And I knew him for like the least amount of time there throughout the night. Yeah. So I ended up being roommates with him, and we were so happy about it, man. Like he was like, hey, he got my hangers ready for me when I walked into the hotel room. He's like, "Hey, that's your bed. Which bed do you want?" Just such a good guy. James likes, well, we both have our hair rituals, you know. I've seen his hair like without it slicked back, and like I was like, dude, like you actually look good with your hair kind of messy like that.
It's not thinning already. He's got a full good head of hair, man.
It's great, man. It's great, but he has this. I don't think he blow dries, or no, he does blow dry it, but then he has this special gel that he like slicks it, but he has like it's like those mafia combs, right? Those like really slick black mafia combs, and he's like slicking it back like this, and he gets the gel, and him and we had a schedule. It's like, hey, I'm gonna shower first because I'm gonna blow dry my hair first, and I'm gonna play around with my hair. But and so we'd be on a schedule for our hair getting ready for these ceremonies. But James has a full set of hair.
Yeah.
Great hair, especially when it's just kind of like it's like beach waves too. Like it's kind of like mine, but I can't explain it, man.
We need to see it on Paradise, out of the water, drying off, no gel. Give us a chance, James. Just give it a chance.
You know what? I'm hoping when I see him on Paradise, I'm hoping like I feel like he's gonna be a guy that doesn't go underwater. He just goes in to get his body wet, but he's like, I can't touch the hair right now. Like I just can't do it. So we'll see what happens. But no, man, he's a stud. Best dressed guy, no doubt. Learned a lot about his the fashion that he takes on, and I've been trying to transition it into my suit game as well, and getting new suits. But guy's a stud, man. He's the best dressed guy there for sure.
Man, he is. My main job is writing in fashion, and that dude caught my eye immediately. That dude knows how to dress. What do you think the percentage chances of him having mafia ties are? I'm throwing it at a solid 20%.
Yeah, no, I'm throwing at 50. I'm throwing it at 50. You never want to go, you know, you don't want to go past 50. I would say I would even say 49% just to.
We'll go 49 just in case, because I don't want
to get in trouble. I don't want to get
exactly.
I don't want to get a hit on me, right? But yeah, man, you got the chain. It's just these funny memes. There was one with James with that night where he wore the black turtleneck and he had the chain hanging out
over top.
And then you saw Mikey P with the cross chain hanging out, and it says like, it's like a mafia guy and a priest walking to a bar. It was one of those things too. But looking back, like I didn't think too much of it. Like you kind of saw the mafia resemblance thing, but we were just so busy. Like, hey, how do I look? And we're like, hey, we're good because we're all stressed out in the moment. But looking back, I was like, James, man, like I bug him all the time. I'm like, Jimmy, you're you're in the mafia. There's no doubt about it. And he loves it. I think it's funny too. But he's from New York, so he does have a New York accent. And
dude, this is the most fascinating guy in the world. He's got that New York accent. He's living in California.
His parents are, I believe, British and Australian. So I know he did have an accent growing up when he was younger, but he does have a New Yorker accent, which adds to the mafia lifestyle thing. So I think it's hilarious, man. Everyone has their own character. It seems there. It's absolutely classic, and those are the things that you're never gonna forget. You know, going through an experience like this.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. And you mentioned earlier too. Well, and you mentioned it on Talking It Out, how you did stay out of the drama. You were not quick to judge anyone. You didn't jump in, and it can be like that. And we kind of saw that. We saw that a bit with Hunter. I wasn't the biggest Hunter fan. I'm sure he's a good guy, but But you could even see once Thomas left, people look for the next guy, or
Right.
because if you don't, it kind of feels like maybe you'll be the next guy. So you got to find the next person to target. You were not really a part of that, but then you said to Brian and Mike, well, wait for after the final rose, because there's a new Brendan that comes out and is honest, and that's a version of you that had a chance to actually think and process and make sure he knew how he felt.
Yeah.
And
the mental,
the mental, not after the final rose.
yeah.
And look, in fact, based on your IGTV live with Thomas earlier this week, it seems like there have been a few hatchets buried. So I'm going to go through a few of your old rivals, and you just give your current thoughts on them.
Perfect.
How you feel if you or the trio were right or wrong about them.
Right.
And then maybe I'll give my final thoughts on them. So let's start off with the guy I mentioned, Thomas. What are your thoughts on him currently? Were people too hard on him on the show? Did he kind of just dig himself in a hole and then didn't do a good enough job of getting himself out? What are your current thoughts?
Yeah, my current thought, I love Thomas, man. I think he has a heart of gold, and he checks in on me all the time and checks in on all the guys post show. So he's a great guy. In the moment, everyone has a different personality. You know, we're not all the same. I think he was brutally honest and
dangerously honest.
Dangerously honest, and that could be, you could be misunderstood for that, which is totally understandable. But you know, the one thing I told Mike and Brian was, instead of, you know, attacking him for certain things, I would pull him aside, whether I'm walking in my room or, you know, we had a moment together in the kitchen or anything. I would be like, hey man, listen, like there's guys here that, you know, we're going home to maybe no jobs. There's a pandemic going on. We're all stressed out, people leaving their kids. We're all going through something. And like, there's no reason to bring up certain like conversations or talk down to some people.
Or to disrespect other people's time. Like yours isn't necessarily
100%
important. Yeah.
Well, especially when Aaron was opening up about something very important that could have taken him and Katie's relationship to the next level. Just little things. So I just had conversations with him. I was like, dude, I said, man, you're a great guy. You have a big heart. I can tell, you know, you respect me. And that's one thing. If you respect me, I respect you. It's very simple. Yeah. But I just had a conversation, and he would be like, you know what, man, like he's like, you know what, thank you for telling me, because now I'm realizing it. So we were always on a good level of communicating, and I'm a communicator. Yeah. But Thomas is a great guy. Everyone is actually a great human being on the show, and we all deal with stuff with the aftermath, whether it's the internet, but also being there. We're all stressed out and on our toes and high emotions. So yeah, I think he was misunderstood, but we obviously have to voice our opinion on the present moment of what was going on in the house.
Yeah. And this one less involved you, but it involved obviously Aaron was, well, a lot of the guys were a part of it. It seemed like kind of a common annoyance. I don't know if it was just like personalities clashing. Maybe it was a bit too intense. Thoughts on Hunter?
I mean, Hunter's honestly one of the best guys I've ever met as well. I sat in the hot tub with him and like two other guys, like crying to his life story, crazy story he has, and he's so strong for pulling through with everything he's dealt with in life. Yeah. He's an amazing dad, always talks about his kids first and foremost. So awesome guy, big heart. Always checked in on the guys, always say good morning, good night to everybody.
So he's cool with the squad.
He's cool with the squad. Yeah, he's cool with the squad. No, there's no doubts about that. But you know, in the moment, I think, you know, him and Thomas were close. So when Thomas was still around, we tried to get him to like see like the true colors in the moment of what Thomas was, you know, how he was acting. So we're like, Hunter, like, what don't you see? What don't you see? And then when Connor B finally noticed, like, I'm starting to see something, and like when Connor B is one of the best guys.
And they were super close, it seemed like. Well, they were roommates, weren't they? Hunter and
Thomas were, that's why. So
gotcha.
You know, I know Hunter most likely saw a different side, because I saw, obviously you're gonna be closer with your roommate, just like I was with James. Yeah. And so that's one big thing with once Thomas left, we're like, hey, is Hunter
got that lingering distrust a little bit?
Well, is the spotlight on Hunter now and not on Thomas, right? So everyone was confused about that. But Hunter owns up to a lot of stuff looking back, of like certain words he used or certain sentences. And that's one thing, man, you have to be careful with everything you say there. Yeah. And that's why for me, man, you learn how to listen really well, but you also have to learn how to think before you speak. And I always did that. And that's why maybe I didn't come across as this crazy drama guy because I was so like, I felt like I was 2 steps ahead. Not to boost myself in that sense, but it's just like I was playing the game a bit smarter than other guys. I was really trying to just be myself because I'm a listener. So, but Hunter, man, great guy. He just, there's a couple things in regards to like the top 4 list. He said that, was caught on camera and certain things, but it's just things like that. You don't, at that point in the journey, you don't put a top 4 list out and throw the love word around too, whether it's falling in love or I'm in love. I know there's 2 differences, but just
not enough to say that you totally didn't say it. And we said at the time, like, look, it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Everyone gets caught in a little fib. And then it's best if you can just snap and be like, okay, yes, I did stretch the truth. But then if you don't, well, then you just got to keep digging, right? You just get stuck in that. And look, I can relate to that. Everyone's been there. It just sucks that it happened on TV, right? Not a lot of people.
That's exactly what it is, right? That's exactly what it was. So
now you're a nice guy. And I know, like, dude, see, you're burying these hatches. You're saying, look, I don't have anything against these people. And my opinion has shifted on Thomas. It shifted on Hunter. It will not shift on this person. I don't care what you say, dude. What are your thoughts today on Carl?
Carl, my arch enemy. Well, first and foremost, I mean, that hatchet, I mean, there's 2 different sides because now at post show, it's different. We all just keep in touch. Like we're always going to be in touch, which is weird no matter who you argue with. But we still don't know if he meant to Katie or like,
I do.
He said,
he did. He happened to be lucky.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly what James said as well. He's like, of course, you're going to blame it on Thomas. And I still don't believe that. I knew he wanted time with Katie and he wanted to kind of stir the pot and get that screen time. So I heard him first and foremost, like, you're going to drop a bomb on the guys tonight. And that's what he did. And I heard it at the rose ceremony. So when he got time with Katie, it really didn't make any sense because, it didn't make, it was so weird for us. And my whole point to him, he said, I had a great connection with Katie. And I said, well, if you just said a name to her, like you maybe would have stuck around. Like you could have stuck around. Like, why didn't you tell her the name? Like, if it was Thomas, why didn't you just tell her name? He's like, well, because I'm not like that. She should find out for herself and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so you're saying potentially a woman you're going to get engaged to that you have a good connection with, you'd rather leave and throw that away just to protect one guy in the house. I said,
and not even protect her.
You're fake news.
You're hurting her, man. Yeah,
exactly. And you're stressing her out. So just be honest with her and tell her the truth. Like, but yeah, he's just a guy that I felt, he wasn't there for Katie. But overall, even after mental, like we buried the hatchet. It's kind of like a town hall meeting. You voice your opinion, get it all out of us. We have the testosterone, and obviously when you do look at those clips, looking back, and it kind of put stuff back in your head of that moment, puts you back in that moment. You can really voice your opinion and your emotions. Yeah. So, I had to go at it with him. I voiced my opinion. I thought he wasn't there for Katie. I felt like he tried to put on this act to, get that screen time and build a platform. But overall, I think Carl, we've chatted briefly. He supports me on social media and I support him. And, I know his sister lives in Toronto. I think he's I think he has a Canadian passport, believe it or not.
Oh, dear Lord.
I know. Right, so he's one of us. Gary. He's one of us technically, but that's what he brings up to me all the time. But you know what? Like I said my goodbyes to him and he said, man, like, I wish you the best, safe travels. Like Carl has a big heart. He's a good guy. I know he helps a lot of people as a motivational speaker. So kudos to him for that. But, for him on the season, it felt, he wasn't there for the right reasons, but also I'm petrified to see him on Paradise. So,
dude, I can't wait to see him on Paradise. Yeah. He's the perfect guy because there are going to be some people who aren't a big fan, but I think also at the end of the day, Katie's reaction said a lot. Yeah, I think you were generous being like, hey, if you gave a name, you would have stayed another week. I think a big reason why she said, you know what, it's all good, Carl, is because she said it. She said, look, we just didn't have the connection either way. So you can lie, you can tell the truth. I just don't think it was there. And
I don't think it was
in scramble mode. And look, I get it. You want to stay on the show, but you literally did the opposite thing. You could have gotten more screen time and you took yourself off for the sake of actually moving it forward. So I think you two, as kind as you are, I think you're very different people. Now,
For sure.
you posted kind of nearing the end here. I gotta do one for the Canadian listeners here. You posted a photo a while back of my alma mater, Western, with the caption "Go Mustangs" on Instagram. For our Canadian listeners.
Yeah.
And hey, no bias for our Canadian listeners. Which university guarantees the best party? And you've spent time in America, so for our American listeners, which American college makes for the best party?
I mean, I wouldn't know too much about the American colleges. I mean, I think just being like the frats are just unbelievable in the States. It's so different from Canada, so that like blows me away. I think just having if you're at a college and there's a football game going on, man, like you're going to a college football game, there's going to be a party and a tailgate regardless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously in Canada, man, Western blows everyone out of the water. I didn't go there. People think I went there, but you know, you do the little Western sign. You do go to Seeps, go to Barney's and Jack's, and there's some great spots there. But
we're recording this from London right now, my man. You're speaking my language.
Well, listen, I just that's everyone always asks me if I went there, but I'm just a fan of going. I went to the Focos, I went to the Hocos. Funny story. So my parents work for the airline, so I fly for for basically nothing. And my friends called me one day and be like, "Hey, like, what are you doing? What are you doing today?" It was a Monday, and I was like, "No, just hanging out." They're like, "Well, we're driving to London. We're doing dollar beers tonight." And I said, "Okay, well, like, let me call you back." So I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, I want a flight to London." So she's like, "What do you mean you want to fly?" I was like, "I want a flight to London." And she's like, "Okay." So she's like, "It leaves at 1:00. Hopped on a plane, 23-minute flight to London, Ontario, went to dollar beers.
A flight for dollar beers. My God.
And then I flew home the next morning and I got picked up at the airport and just continued my day on. And that's a place where it holds a place in my heart. It's the best party school.
Let's go.
You know, even at the time, you know, probably the best looking girls too that went to all the universities in Canada. And I played hockey out in St. Thomas, so I have a lot of London buddies, and I was just with a bunch of my London buddies actually on the weekend for a reunion for the St. Thomas when we played hockey together. So London's a place that I'm always going to go to. I'm always up there too. So I know I'll probably
let us know, my man.
There.
Yeah.
Well, we could do a dollar beer night. I would say so,
my man.
Hey.
A flight for dollar beers. We got to clip that and send it to Jax. They're gonna put that on as like a loop on the TV.
You should. Hey, I'll plug them any day. I had a great time there, and I was on the upstairs patio. I remember it's like you downstairs or upstairs. I think we started downstairs, worked our way upstairs. We might have got kicked out. I don't know. There was one of those nights.
Yeah.
You know?
Me and producer Gary have a fantastic story. I dared him to let me boost him through the window, through the balcony,
Come on.
past the line. And he said yes. And I've never seen someone get kicked out faster. Boosted him through. And before he was even through the window, he was back beside me, kicked out for the night.
The security's tight there. I'll tell you right now.
They're
quick and they're big. And there's some big guys. I'm not messing with those guys there. So,
all right, to close this out, my man, gun to your head. If you don't make a definitive choice, the Martians will blow up Earth. The stakes have never been higher. Pick the next Bachelor from this season.
I would say it's between two, and I'll give you my reasoning. I would say Michael A. and Andrew Spencer. Just because I love Michael A. I called him Uncle Mikey since he was the oldest guy in the house. So Uncle Mikey, if you're listening, I love you. But just such a great guy, amazing story, biggest heart. His son James is incredible too. I always check in on the guys, and you want someone like that to find, love and to find a partner to just build a new family and have someone there for James when he grows up as well. So I want Mike A to find love, no doubt. Andrew Spencer, one of the funniest guys ever, so genuine, has a great life story as well. people, I think, just gravitate to his energy and his laughter and his smile. I'd rather the world blow up than to pick one, because it's
Sure.
tough, man.
I'll let
It's
you
a
go
tough
with
thing.
two, and those
But
are strong too.
they're two great guys, and whether one of them is the Bachelor for the upcoming season, and then another one of them gets a chance in the future,
Double it up
think,
again, like Katie and Michelle.
Yeah, 1,000%, man. So
Yeah.
I have nothing but love for those guys, and they I just feel with Andrew's departure, you know, like I don't think the world saw that coming either. So you know, he definitely deserves to find love, and Michael A deserves to find you know, a wife, and to you know, he's at that age too where he probably wants to solidify something as well now. But those guys they're special guys, and you know, they're going to be my brothers for the rest of my life. So
those are fantastic answers. Well, my man, from offering a glimpse into who you are to revealing all the ins and outs from your time on one of our favorite seasons of all time of The Bachelorette, we simply couldn't have asked for anything more. Now, there's only one thing left to do, and since we're not ever sure if you're allowed to do it yourself, we'll do it for you and send the people to @TheBrendanQuinn with 2 N's on Instagram. That's @TheBrendanQuinn with 2 N's on Instagram to keep up to date on one of the nicest, most genuine people in Bachelor Nation. To all our new listeners, don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends. Remember, a wet bird never flies at night. Thank you guys. Peace. All right.